So one of my favorite Van Halen stories, which actually has a really good moral to it, which we'll get to at the end, but basically when Van Halen first came out, one of their first tours, if not their first tour, they opened up for Ted Nugent in the late 70s. So the first time Ted Nugent heard Eddie play was at soundcheck. Eddie was sound checking, and Ted Nugent, like everyone else, first time he heard Eddie Van Halen play, was just blown away, right? Couldn't believe the sounds coming out of that guitar and that amp, right? So Ted Nugent waited for Van Halen to leave the sound check, and then he asked their road crew, I think his guitar tech, Eddie's guitar tech, hey, can I plug into Eddie's rig, right? And so Ted Nugent plugged into Eddie Van Halen's rig and started wailing away. And guess what? He sounded like Ted Nugent, right? So the moral of that story is so much of your sound comes from your fingers and the way that you attack the strings, how you bend the strings, your technique. And basically Eddie Van Halen can play through any guitar, any amp. He's going to sound like Eddie Van Halen, just like Ted Nugent will play through any guitar, any amp. He'll sound like Ted Nugent. If you plugged your guitar into Eddie Van Halen's rig, you would sound like you. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't play through nice equipment or try. You should play through the nicest equipment you can afford. And I'm not saying the equipment doesn't matter, because it does to a degree. But the main thing is, when it comes to tone, what's in your hands, what's in your heart, and getting it from there to here to here. So basically going out and buying a certain piece of gear that your favorite player plays through or uses isn't necessarily going to mean you're going to sound just like them, right? You're going to sound like you, and maybe, a little bit like them, unless you're trying to totally emulate somebody's style, the way they play, their phrasing, the way they bend their notes, their licks, stuff like that. I just think that's such a great story, and I share that one a lot with my students. I constantly try to instill in my students to, develop your own style. Certainly we all have our influences, and certainly we're all amalgamates of our influence, right? We take a little bit of this person, a little bit of that person, a little bit of them, him, her, this person, and a heavy dose of you, and you roll it into you. It's important for us, right? We stand on the shoulders of the players that have come before us, but developing your own style, that's really where it's at, and taking elements from other players and our influences and making them you. And then, and as you continue on in developing your skills and honing your art, right, and refining your skills in your guitar journey, you'll start to develop your own sound, and then soon you'll be plugging into any piece of equipment, you're going to sound like you. Like and follow for more, and click the link on my profile page for lots more free content, free ebooks, links to my courses, YouTube channels. Take care. Keep on rocking.